Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm back in the DCS World Mission Editor, and I've got a sort of a bit of a request here from someone called Wolfie351. It's to do with cap. It says, nice explanation, question for you. Can you set the cap to keep pace with its carrier? Now, that's an interesting question, and you can understand why you'd want to have the cap keep pace with the carrier, because, you know, fleet defense. Now, I thought about this, and I've been experimenting with multiple, well, with trying to find a method to do that. Now, the sad thing is we can't have our waypoints move during a mission. There, you know, waypoints are static, and we can't have a fixed wing aircraft follow as a condition a ground target or ground object such as a ship. We can do for helicopters. You know, we can select them to follow in whatever mission, in what mission profile, and we can set the interval there. So you can sort of have helicopters at whatever distance in front of the ship you want, but you can't do it with fixed wing. So for fixed wing aircraft, I had to have sort of be a little bit creative with it. So I've got my aircraft carrier here, just one ship, not bothered with it, just for the purpose of this tutorial, and I've got my F-18F here. You know, he's going to fly out in front, and he's going to, you know, fleet defense effectively. Okay. So what I've done is I've set a couple of waypoints just to show you how this could work in practice. So our ship here is just going to sail straight ahead all the way up here and wherever it's going to go. Our aircraft here is going to fly the cap for the fleet defense of the carrier. So he's going to fly to waypoint 1, and at waypoint 1 I've set him up to do an orbit. And at that orbit I've put a stop condition that he's going to keep going, stay in that orbit until flag 1 is active. Okay, and once flag 1 is active, he's going to move to waypoint 2. So I've had to set up some triggers here for switch waypoints. Okay, so when he gets to waypoint 2, the same principle is going to be again. He's going to orbit, stop condition, he's going to keep going until flag 2 is active. And the same again when it's at waypoint 3, orbits in place, and the stop condition will be when flag 3 is active. Then after that, he'll push to waypoint 4, and then at waypoint 4, you're just going to hit that waypoint and then go and land on the carrier. Now, I've set up these trigger zones here, because this is where the ship's going to pass through, as you can see through this blue line here. So once the ship gets to this new trigger zone, that's what's going to force the aircraft to, or a flag to activate, and for the aircraft to switch waypoint. So we come up here into our triggers. I set the initial a trigger for all the flags to be off, because we want the flags to be off, because if they're on straight away, then the F-18 will just bang 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 all the way through them, and you know, that's not what we want. Okay, so then if we look at the first triggers, which this will be for this first trigger zone here, once our carrier, which is naval 1-1, is inside trigger zone 1, then flag 1 is going to become active. And as we know, when we looked at these triggers, sorry, what am I doing there? Silly. Once flag 1 is active, then the cap will stop at waypoint 1, which will mean that the aircraft will push to waypoint 2, because that's the trigger that we've set. Okay, and it'll be the same for all those things. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you in TACPack. It's easier to see it, and I've just put some ships here so we can see in TACPack when our carrier gets to that point. Okay, so let's have a look. So you can see here we've got our carrier, ships here just to show where the trigger zones are. Here's our F-18 and here's our carrier. Okay, so let's go ahead and get things going. So our F-18s now has just entered the first cap, as we said, at waypoint 1. The ship is the aircraft carrier, I should say, is coming nice and forward to that first trigger zone. Okay, so the carrier is just about to enter the trigger zone, and there we can see the flight path of the F-18 has changed from that nice cap oval sort of thing to a quick turn, and it's going to push towards waypoint 2, and then it's going to set up the second cap there. Boom, carrier's in at the second trigger zone. Our F-18, boom, he's gone right up. We need to push now to waypoint 3, and so on, and he's going to keep doing that. Okay, and then boom, our aircraft carrier's in the final trigger zone, and our F-18 is now going to push to waypoint 4. waypoint 4, and now he's going back to the carrier because that's what we programmed him to do. And it's like that. That was the best way I could think of it. Honestly, this is on a small scale, but you could set this to a bigger scale and have the F18 out at a certain point. And you can have the trigger zones at a different point. They don't have to be in between. So, like for example, I could put the trigger zone here, just to make it so that the aircraft is always in front of the carrier, that the carrier doesn't catch up. But that was the best way I could think of doing it at this time. I don't know how to make the aircraft follow a ship in the sense that we can do with a helicopter. Like I said, the helicopter will go set to follow, and it will sit out in front. But that's the best way I can think of it. It's Wolfie. I hope that helps. But if not, give me another question down below, and I'll see what I can do for you. That goes for everybody else. If there's anything you guys want to know or try to understand how to do, let me know, and I will see what I can do. As always, thanks for joining in. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. That really help us out. And until next time, I'll see you later. Goodbye.